Hi, I want to do a follow-up video on, as promised, I promised that I'll do a follow-up video on my prediction for July 1st. Um, you can see this is a video that I have opened here. Um, so if, I said, areas of concern, right? Okay, I see a small error here. That should have been 2022. It's not 2023. Let me make it bigger. That should have been 2022. That's a mistake. But this is 2023 is right, because the whole of Mars period finishes on that date. But these are the ones that I said going to be affected. I mean, you can see all of these are absolutely correct. Public health, political situation, and stability. I don't need to tell you that. Law and order, they were crippled to some extent, and then how they are using the increased power of authority after the July 1st, after this date down here. And, its poor governance was absolutely, not was, it's is, and all the time that happens to us. And bye, look at the increase in poverty. We could not imagine increase in poverty when I did this somewhere in December. We could not imagine increase in poverty by now, by July, because this transit is a very big transit that happened, causing all of these stuff. Because how this was arrived at is I explained that how this can be arrived, just there's it's just the astrology. There's absolutely nothing else, because if you learn it, it's easy to derive this. It's not anything special about that. But if you look at it, political situation, how that ended up here, and then this political stability was extremely poor. Law and order is, how the law and order was getting worse situation, and poverty and the poor governance is horrible, and then increased use of authority now, and then that's increased use of authority earlier also there. How the tear gas and all that stuff was pushed people into so much in difficulties. But if you listen to the video, I said from here to here is difficult period, much worse period. If you look at this plus 80 to 100 here, and then the negative 80. If you look at it, the negative 80 comes to about 13, 14, 15 kind of days in July. Also, I did not emphasize this area. That I should have done, because my idea was to go to the peak of this day. It's like whatever happened, that things got worst over here, quite worst here, because this was a very slow moving situations on this long way, and then this, and then peaked here, and all of these happened by this date. And then it starts to go down slowly, but then there was another transit that I missed here. That, of course, I didn't miss it, but I mentioned that in the video clearly, but I did not explain that, because that also happens after 18 years. But then this 18 years was extremely slow moving 18 years transit. So that's what it happened there, like that. So it doesn't happen all the time. So I should have emphasized that a little bit over here. So if you see, whatever happened here is continued happening here, but so that is like this here. When I predicted the corona cases was peak here, but then the corona cases were here too and here too. But we did not know it is going down or not, because at this point in time, because this is why I waited even to do a follow-up on this one, because you have to wait like 2 months to see that this was the peak. That is the idea. So we cannot just say, following day, okay, everything going to be okay. It's not going to happen. Country became bankrupt. We could not pay our loans. uh, it is such a poor governance situation, and then poverty, whole country is completely in poverty. That's like, I mean, I don't mean every single person, but the poverty increased quite a bit. Now, what I did was with this, I did this one here. Sorry, this one here. Okay, this is the detail part that I did. I mean, the video, I this video premiered on this date, which is December 17th, and then I said that we will hear bad news on this date. If you look at it, that's the day that the poll increased at 12 a.m. on that day, and the doctors went on a strike. So we hear that news on that day. That's how it happens. If all the pool increases happens on this particular transit here, because I said Mercury is the significator for communications. So that's what happened. In here, I said something good will happen here, um, but it's not going to be significant. Actually, this transit is coming down all the way here. So this is Saturn conjunct 487. And then there's Sun also in here, Sun conjunct 399. 3 is the house of communications, Sun is the government. And then that day we hear salary increase. I think this was a budget or something. Yeah, the salary increased by $5,000, and they removed a lot of duty on essential items. That's from the budget, I think. This is what it came about on this one here, because anything can happen after 80. Is 80 to 100 is the most effective area. So that is what happened there. Now what I did was, if you look at these yellow highlighted areas, this was not on the original video, because this is what the actual line is over here. So you can see this is the positive one, that only positive thing that happened there. And then you can see it's a bad time coming over here, and you can see sudden train strike, cardinal urges, police for I mean, I write what was happening in each day, 1000 days from the Easter attacks. I mean, this brought so much bad name for our country, and it's sad that our law and order it's not functioning in terms of that. That's a sad, very sad situation. So this happened on that day, and then this time is Omicron becoming a dominant variation. So this is a news day here. So you can see, like here, negative day. Actually, this Sri Lanka plunges into darkness. So this is where the electricity board started having trouble with the electricity situation. Like that, I have done. Okay, this is the day that Chamudita got hit with all the shit in his place. I mean, that is not Sri Lanka thing. I just write it there. I mean, now this is what very, very important situation was. This one over here, like this day, President Putin invades Ukraine, right? This is a global event, but the global event happened that definitely affect us, because that's where the oil prices went up so much. So this is the negative news that we heard it on this day. So that is what the major event is over here. Actually, these also could be negative events here, but this one, and then I didn't write anything here. I'm not sure why. Probably I should have done. Then over here now, US dollar went from 200 to 230, and then it went to 230 to 260, and then like you can see this here again, Mercury 1, and then LIOC increased the diesel price by 75 and like that, and then the CPC followed in the following day, which is that day, which is on this transit here, and this one here. If you look at this one here, government signs USD 1 billion credit line with India, and we not seen the terms. I mean, getting getting loan is, while we think getting loan is a positive thing, is absolutely not, because we can't live with loans every single day. That's not a really positive thing. Like when people don't have any money, they go and mortgage their whatever, even their jewelry, and get loans from that. And you can see that the diesel and fuel consignment stuck at Ford because there's no US dollars to clear these days. And then the India loan agreement terms exposed. So on this date here, I'm not going into much detail. I don't want this to be a long one. Um, I mean, this is the 1 billion credit line, and then we were buying oil at much higher prices, those kind of stuff there. Then we started on here, Jupiter aspect Venus in here. This is where the Aragalaya starts then, and then we get the mass public protest, police curfew, and then you can see this is for President's house, Mr. Rajapakse's house, I mean Gotabaya Rajapakse's house, like where we had this trouble, and then the following day we had a full day curfew, and then the full day curfew after that. So you can see this negative, clearly that happens. So, and then public protests continue, all the Aragalaya stuff, that's which is quite normal. And then this here again, public protest, stock market to be closed for 5 days from here. That's a major event, for the economy of a country. And then here, Estelle delegation leaves to USA for IMF discussions. I mean, you're not getting anything at that time, but because we've gone to begging there. And then here we hear the public protest continues. Cardinal left for Vatican. With all the people who suffered from the Easter month, I think it's Good Friday attacks, right? So that's a bad event because it's a Mercury involved here. Rahu is foreigner, so actually we gone to tell our problems to the world. So that's there here. And then public protests continue, 24-hour strike by most sectors. Over here, I highlighted here, curfew all day here. Prime Minister resigns on this day. You can see some Mercury transits here, so that's all negative. And the curfew all day again here. And then public protest, and go Gama and no deal Gama, and all these fuel problem, electricity cuts, so much suffering for people, no cooking gas, and all that stuff is happening all these time over here. And then here the 80%, the 66 days there, that. And then here I have it, okay, Sri Lanka won by Australia, I mentioned that's I just write it there for my purposes, But actually all of these are continuing. There must have been another positive thing that we won this match here. Then we have all these, I said these are extremely bad dates here, like lack of fuel, trouble at fuel stations where people are fighting and all that stuff, life-saving drugs were in the hospitals running out, and then IMF talks begin in Colombo. PM says country in economic collapse. So we are basically saying, country is bankrupt, and because we can't pay any loans and stuff. And the bondholder sues Sri Lanka in USA court. 2 died in fuel lines, long fuel and gas lines, and there's a long credit card interest gone up to 40% here. Like fuel price went up despite non-availability, even though we didn't have any fuel to sell, but the price went up. Like this one here, as I said, Mercury transits you will get always bad news. Over here, fuel only for essential services, but no new shipments. 2 weeks work from home. Pretty much the government is at a standstill over here. And then the postal services and schools, courts closed. Long distance train services are cancelled. Even not many going, and the CPI, Consumer Price Index inflation is over 54%. I mean, we know it's food inflation was over 80%. I mean, we are the worst situations in the whole wide world, and trouble continues. Of course, Sri Lanka lost to Australia on that day on the test. So this is there, and then this is 100. And then after that, I did not highlight. As I said, it is going to be negative 80. So it's negative 80 is over here on this transit, or anything that any transit, it's going to the 100 and then coming back down to 80. It starts slow improvements. Like when I say improvements, some initiatives happens like that. But what the initiatives over here, some fruit started, and also this transit here, Rahu conjunct Rahu. This is, I put that one out since then, because you can see that I highlighted in yellow. I had this over there, 98. Because I said this, I should have talked about this one much more, because the Rahu conjunct Rahu 98 and Ketu conjunct Ketu 98. Like these are very major transits too. And this one peaking at over here. This is where the president went. Protesters were I mean, protests were at the peak over here, and the president leaves to Maldives over here. And then the president yet to leave the office, because he has gone to Maldives, and then the president protesters leave. I think this is about president's house on this day. This is what happens. That's on the peak of that day. So people were holding the president's house that was at that time, and the temple trees, and they were leaving on that day. And then after that, when it's gone to the 98 negative, only he tendered the resignation here. You can see that this is what happened, because nobody was sure that when is he going to, if he is ever going to resign, or when is he going to resign. So you can see exactly resignation happen just after the peak of that. That's what I said, all the time when there's a peak of transits, is a negative happens, and then as soon as it's break, the positive happens. It's depending on how. If this is a negative, then it's happen. If it's a positive, negative happens. It's the same way, like that. So this happened there. So I should have explained some things more here. That's my fault. I just stopped right here but all these happen. Nothing new happened over here other than protests come into the highest point over here, because of this Rahu conjunct Rahu, and then the president leaving, because until this time things were crippled pretty much. And then here also, then when after this only things started changing. You can see Ranil Wickramasinghe, Mr. Wickramasinghe coming into place, and how he started using the law and order situation to his advantage. Because now, like, this is the most important thing that I want to explain here is that when this kind of a transit is going, government was numb. Actually, it's pretty much they were crippled. They were not able to do anything. And then when that goes over, then they get handle of the stuff. So that's what happens. So if somebody thinks, okay, now we can do the same thing Aragale again these days, it can never happen, because there is no transit supporting that. That is the important thing to understand. It's a life. Whenever we have something, always it happens according to our karma, according to these transits. If there is no transit supporting protest or anything like that, it will not happen. You can see the protesters left on this date, because Rahu conjunct Rahu 99 pretty much on this date, and then this they left. So that is the end there. You can see so clearly. And then after that, from this date, we were not sure what will happen. And here we said, okay, go. Mr. Rajapakse resigns, right? And Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as the interim president. I think he's a prime minister. Yeah, president. Yeah. So that happens there. Now, of course, there are more transits to come in the future. I probably will do a video that's going to, because this doesn't mean any of the people are suffering is ended here. Absolutely not. Our political situation is, it's our karma, because as I clearly said, our government is what we deserve, or the politicians are what we deserve. All these most amazing thing about politicians. Like, I want to just show you something about this here, what Ketu and Rahu is about. Ketu is responsible for natural calamities, inflammatory situations. You can see inflammatory situations were here. You can see all the protest and then how the people were shooting and that kind of stuff was there too at that time, right? And the violent actions or events, and fears and accidents rules the poor. So actually, and isolated. So that's how the Aragale is, with all the less fortunate people that came for the Aragale. And only thing about Ketu is helps you with the spiritual growth, and understanding life. That's the most important thing that Ketu provides us. All of these we need to understand is, it's our karma, and how karma affects us, whether we can overcome our karma by doing good. Because nothing, of course protest is important, but if you concern about yourself, all you need to do is do good karma, overcome your own bad karma, because that is how we are suffering. And also, if you look at the Rahu, it's amazing. Okay, all the diplomatic moves are to do with Rahu. All the diplomats in a country are ruled by Rahu, because they are not there for like any mission in Sri Lanka or any other country. In another country mission is pretty much is for their interest, safeguard their interest. It's not our interest. And the manipulations and deceit, it also rules the winemaking and intoxicants, and it concerns poison dealers and guns, drug pushers. All the drug dealers are represented by Rahu. Wine merchants, salesmen are Rahu. All the salesmen try their best to sell something to you. They might very well lie to you, because Rahu is always there with lies, and cheat you. And Rahu gives you panic, comes to you, and then con men. You know what con men means? It's just people who just cheat you, and thieves are Rahu. Amazing thing about all these politicians, they have Rahu so prominent in their charts. It is no wonder they are politicians. That's the sad thing about these politicians. You can see any I don't have anybody's personal charts, but I have done some, based on my knowledge, I have done some of the charts, and then it's amazing. These people having very strong Rahu in these charts. Their charts. So that's what happens. And the cheats. Pleasure seeking is by Rahu, and then the insincere and immoral acts are done by Rahu. So this, all this panic and all that happened over here. It actually probably Mr. Gotabaya Rajapakse is, a good person, but unfortunately his karma is what happened to him. If you look at his particular chart, if you have his proper birth time, you will see exactly 99 on this day for him. that is exactly it will show a loss of job and status and reputation in his chart on this date. That's absolutely there, because this probably was 90, like around here, and then he, like they could not do anything about the oil and all that stuff, troubles that we were having. So I think I think my prediction is absolutely correct. um, I mean, you can see it's correct. Only thing I should have highlighted this area more. uh, and then what truly happens is that when this is a transit that brought all the troubles over, and make the people to stand up so much. And then, we know Aragalaya went uh, without much of a disturbance. And when I say much of a disturbance, like they were allowed to stay there, right? And then after this date it starts to go the other way, because now if you look at now, it is not supporting. But there's another set of bad transits. These again, Rahu Ketu slows down somewhere in the future. And then I'll probably do a video, just that also will sometime being changed. But um, what truly happens is the government is what we always deserve. We get these politicians who are not so educated. When I say educated, I don't mean the by the examinations education. If Rahu not prominent in their charts and they are there to help people, and absolutely, those are the politicians we want. But it's you won't see those kind of people because we don't deserve them. That's what's happening to us. All right, I think that's about it. I have, I guess, you, you, you can say if I am wrong over here. I don't think there's any other science that can ever, any other science in this world that exists, any kind of a science that can say this is the peak of the time. Anybody who understands astrology will know that this is the peak here, and then this is the peak here for this transit. And then that happens. This is the only science that can say that. Nobody else can say that. No, nothing. No maths, no statistics, nothing. No forecasting systems can do that. There's absolutely no way of doing that. This is the only science that can do. But the thing is, this science has such a bad name because it's being people being given it a bad name, because nobody, if you ever understand how this thing works, then you will be so thrilled to learn. You will be very, very understanding of life. All right, I think I said enough. If you have questions or any comments, you can write down. All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, bye.